Howdy, howdy, folks. Welcome to Babble with Bronies. I am your host. My name is Everlasting Joy. And joining us today is the one and only Bunnimation.
Hello.
Are you ready to get started?
Yep.
Then let's do this. There was a lot of content this week, folks. I'm going to just say that right off the bat. And so I'll say this as well. Go out there and find it yourself because I could only put so much in here. That being said, I do have a few bits here that I think are worth looking into. For instance, how about this one by Pony Killer X, titled 12345. This was a piece I saw earlier this week it was early last week.
Oh,
And I had to
sorry.
put this one in. I just know I had to put this one in.
It's really nice.
The
It's
high,
got
go ahead.
it's got really nice color.
hmm The detailing was what made me want to put this one in. I've seen this kind of work before, not just from Pony Killer, but other artists before, and I've always been a huge fan of this high detailing with the mane in particular.
Pony Killer is the one that posts these really nice ones, but really infrequently, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen their work before. It's really high quality work. You can tell they put a lot of effort into it. The texturing on the building is magnificent.
Can I get a hold of that sword in the background? Seriously, I just love it.
They've got really nice work with their reflections and stuff, which is something I have never exactly excelled at, but am always impressed when people can pull it off right. But they've got this like nice tint over the whole thing that kind of pulls the drawing together.
Kind of grungy looking, um, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's very sepia toned.
That's it. That's what I was looking for. Yes. Thank you. Anything else?
Uh, no, it's very awesome.
All right. Then let's move on. Let's see here. Oh, which one? Which one? Which one? Which one? All right, let's go with this one. This one is Where Luna by Mickey Monster. This is it's been a long time since I've had Mickey Monster on here. And it sounds like he's trying to get back into the game, which is fantastic because I've always enjoyed his art. His and Joey Darkmeat. There's another one I want back.
It is really frightening. There's a really good. I don't know. Even like I know it's just a sketch, but it's got a lot of movement for being a sketch. You know, there's a
hmm
lot of emotion and there's feeling in it without it having been colored, which is impressive. Not a lot of people can get that out of a sketch.
Quote, very late birthday gift for Toxic Mario. His was back in May, early May, to put it in perspective. I kind of like the idea of Where Luna when I saw his drawing of her, so I really wanted to throw in my own 2 cents on the idea. End quote.
He's done an excellent job. The teeth really kind of the teeth and that like the spit or whatever coming off of them really sell it.
I was just going to say that. The whole mouth, the mouth is what sells it to me. It looks very canine esque, and that was
Yep.
fantastic.
Yep. They've gone like even like the fur and everything and the hair is like spiky. It's giving you that very horror feel to it.
Which
It's
is,
good.
go ahead.
Oh, it's. I was just saying it's good.
Very good job on the mane as well. Kind of in the same vein as you said about the movement, but I wanted to comment on that as well. All right, let's move on. Now, this next one, I want to set the tone for this one, folks. I asked to show this cosplay a very long time ago. How long, I forgot to look, but I'll look it up here live. To put it in perspective, though, I believe it was all the way back on the Tripod website. And only this week did this person finally get back to me on it. This is Radiant 4649's photo finish cosplay, and this is the fourth picture I took. One of his, anyway. This is, let's see here. When was this posted? January 18th, and it doesn't give a year. I remember, though, how I just remember a very long time ago that I requested this. It was not this year. It had to have been a very long time ago. But anyway, what's great about this one to me is that I think he makes a male photo finish work, or at least this outfit was a very well done piece. I thought that then, and I still think that now.
That's a dude?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have a hard time telling.
And I think that's why it works so well.
They've got the posing down. Holy crap. It's that's very, very nice cosplay. Like even from here you can tell there's a lot of work in the outfit. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not just thrown together. There's some thought and some effort into that design. I especially love the glasses.
I gotta agree with that. I think the scarf looks awesome.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. I don't know a whole lot about cosplay, but I mean, you can just tell that there was work put into this.
And I think that's what separates this one from, as you put it, something just thrown together. We interviewed a cosplayer a while ago, and as she put it, the best ones are the ones who also sell the character, not just the outfit.
Yep. And that's not easy for everybody
Mm-mm.
to put the attitude with the outfit. And this person is very clearly pulling it off.
Raiden 4649, his photo finish cosplay. And finally, we do have a comic, folks. We couldn't go this. We won't. Comics, always, always, always. This is Redemption by BwB Brothers. Now, Ms. Bunnimation, we have a tradition here on BwB when it comes to reading comics. We read them as best we can. In this one, we have Dash with one line, but we have Gilda and Fluttershy as the main speakers. Who do you
Oh,
want
but
to read? If you want to, of course.
I I'm not the best actress, but sure, I'll
Hey,
play Dash.
hey, let me put it this way.
Huh?
This is all in good fun. I can't voice act very well either. I'm trying to actually imitate their voices. So this is just more laughing at ourselves kind of thing.
Don't judge me. All right.
Do you want between Gilda and Fluttershy, who do you want?
Uh, how about Fluttershy?
Sounds good. Rainbow Dash starts whenever you are ready.
Okay. Now that you are good, there is only one more thing you have to do.
Ugh, now I have to apologize to that dweeb. Well, here goes nothing. Uh, hey!
Gilda?
Give me that!
Eek!
Listen, I'm just here to.
You won't get me alive!
A few cuts later. Stop it! Listen, dweeb, I'm just here too. Substitution jutsu.
Ooh, so you just wanted to apologize? Okay, apology accepted.
I think this is the first time I've ever done or tried to do Gilda. So, yeah. Yes, I intentionally try to imitate them. You can blame Mr. Ben for that one. Anyway, that is,
Sorry.
that's all right.
If you could see my face right now, it would be terribly red.
All right. That is the end of the art. Oh, there is one thing I do want to mention before, and just to make sure that I mention it. Next week, folks, the 7th of June, due to our hectic schedules, we've decided to not have BwB that week. So there will be no BwB next week on the 7th. We are hoping to pick things up again on the 14th, but we'll obviously keep you informed. Just check my DA page. All the information's always there. But with that out of the way, Ms. Bunnimation, are you ready?
Yup.
Then let us do this. I always like to start with what I like to call the first 5 questions. Please, for the record, state the name you wish to be addressed by during this interview, what you do in regards to Pony, that you're an artist, you're a video maker, you cosplay, etc., etc. The main focus. Then list your favorite episodes. They can, plural. Then list your favorite character from Generation 4 specifically, and then, if applicable, please name your favorite character from any generation of My Little Pony. So start with your name.
Okay. You can call me Kyle or Bunny. Bunny is my nickname. It's what most people call me. Kyle is my real name. What was the second question?
Your job.
In the pony fandom, I
Yeah.
actually do a variety of things. Mostly, I do digital art on DA. I've kind of come to this road where I've been doing a lot of crossovers and a lot of like reimagined movie posters. It's sort of what I've really gotten into this last year at least. But I also do perlers, I do beaded bracelets. I'm trying to get into jewelry casting,
Ooh.
something I did in high school, and it's something I'd like to take into ponies, but I don't think I'll get it in time to do BronyCon this year, unfortunately. But maybe next year. I am currently working with my father-in-law to make music boxes. So he's taking my steampunk art, and we got permission from a gentleman who did a My Little Pony medley, and we're going to make them into digital music boxes and put them in these handcrafted wooden boxes. And I'll be
Nice.
selling those this year at BronyCon. I do buttons. I do a little bit of everything.
We'll talk about that a little later. But for now, I want to ask, yeah, what are some of your favorite episodes from the show?
Oh, this one's a little bit harder. I have a lot of favorites. The first one that comes to mind is a friend in need, or a friend indeed.
Hmm.
Can I remember the Pinky with the Smile song? um, Let me think. I really like the wedding episode, the wedding 2-part episode, like the opener and closer for season 2,
Hmm.
the Ella or the Return of Harmony, and the Canterlot wedding episodes. They're amazing. Like the music, and for the wedding part is like the music and the bad guy. I wish they would bring back Chrysalis so bad. She's like one of the best bad guys that they've had so far.
I gotta
Uh,
ask, what is it that makes her so good in your book?
well, first off, her design is very good. It's really, really good. I love her design so much. But the person who plays her, like her voice actress, is amazing. Like the it's just good.
it,
it's I'm a big fan.
That's
And I
worth.
know she comes back in the comics a lot, and from what I understand, has been said that she won't be returning in the show, but I can always hope.
Exactly.
Like, I love that she was able to play two characters. Like, she had Evil Cadence and Chrysalis, who technically were both the same character, but they weren't. Like, the voice acting was different enough. It was good.
What about your favorite? Any other favorite episodes?
Um, Give me a second. I know there's a couple that I always go back to, but I can't think of what they are off the top of my head. I would have to see like an episode listing, and then I'd be like, "Oh, it's that one and that one and that one." There was a couple really good ones this season. Like this season has started off really strong. So, oh. Although I have to admit, I'm a terrible fan right now because I've been really busy the last 2 weekends. I haven't caught up on the last two episodes. We had MomoCon in town this weekend, and then last weekend was Memorial Day, so I wasn't in the house like all weekend. So I'm a terrible fan right now.
You heard her, folks. Grab the torches and pitchforks.
But I like I like the Too Many Pinkies.
That is a good one.
That's a really good one. And as much as I like really started not liking Trixie, I kind of like Trixie now.
Really?
So the second, it's probably my husband because my husband has always really liked Trixie, and I've always argued with him about it. And then finally, I guess I just gave in. So Trixie has sort of grown on me over the seasons. But so I liked the Trixie episode in season 3 or 4.
Why am I picturing family dinners with you and your husband arguing over Trixie?
Actually, we argue about Luna and Celestia now because he's a Tia fan and I'm a Luna fan. So we argue over Best Princess.
Well, clearly it's Cadence, so I don't know what you guys are
Oh,
arguing about.
just get out. But yeah, my favorite pony is very obviously Derpy. Like if you don't follow my Deviant Art page, then maybe you don't know, but I freaking love Derpy. Like I kind of liked her before like the episode in season 2. I'm very bad with names, so I apologize if I
The
don't remember.
last roundup was the episode.
But I liked her beforehand, but not like it wasn't like a huge deal. And then when that episode happened, I was like, "Oh my god, she's the cutest thing ever!" And I'm talking about the original voice acting. And I know that that
Yes.
episode has had a lot of uh, scandal behind it, but I love the original recording of that episode. Like I went out and bought that stupid DVD just because it's got that recording of it on. Because when they sold the season, like the whole season together, they taped over it with a new recording.
Hmm.
So I love it.
All I have to say to that is just join the club. Seriously, join the club on that notion.
I don't. Was that the last question of the original
Unless
five?
you, if you have any other characters from not Generation 4, like if you have any others out there, if it's applicable, are there any favorites you have from any generation?
Uh, you know, I know that I watched My Little Pony as a kid, and I liked it a lot because I had an entire little gym bag full of ponies that I took with me everywhere. But I honestly cannot remember any of the ponies from the 80s. I honestly can't.
That's okay.
Um, and I'm in my 30s, so my mind is not as sharp as it used to be, and that was a long time ago. But yeah, I honestly don't remember, and I know there are very few cartoons that honestly stand the test of time, and I am pretty sure that the old like 80s ponies would not. So it would probably be very hard for me to watch the old pony shows.
So I'll. This is one of the questions I had, and I was actually going to start somewhere else, but you know what? Forget about it. Do you think, kind of on that same vein, do you think Generation 4 will stand the test of time?
Yes, possibly.
How come?
Well, the difference between this the series is your basic humor line. Um, like besides the animation being extremely outdated, like the animation in the old cartoons was not that good. like
No.
and I know that they were probably paying those poor animators a pittance on what they should have been being paid, but and it was all on cells and everything, but the animation was not that good. The basic idea, the premise behind the show wasn't that good, and that's something that the current ponies has is like Lauren Faust is very obviously like a feminist.
Mm-hmm.
Like she doesn't just want the show to promote stereotypical girl behaviors, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got that going for it. Plus, it's got a plot. Like every season has had some sort of like arc to it. And that certainly helps it quite a bit. Not to mention the character design in it is absolutely fabulous. It's beautiful. And I cannot, especially being in animation, those characters are awesome.
That's kind of why I wanted to ask it, was because you're on the, for lack of better terms, inside of the industry. You might not be on the inside of the actual show itself, but that to me works to your advantage because you sit it in a unique position. All of us here as the fans are going to say it'll stand the test of time, at least in some degree. But you're a fan, yet yet A, you're not on the show staff, and B, you're in the animation industry. So I
Although
wanted to
I
ask you that.
I was I almost had a position on the show over this last hiatus.
Really?
I did. I got see, I was gonna do cleanup animation or animation revisions or something. They contacted me about like freelance work, but I was about to start back up at Bento Box, so I wasn't gonna be there for enough time.
To really make a difference, or
Well,
that it wouldn't be worth it
needed
to you?
someone who could work an entire month for the month that I was starting back at Bento, plus a month in June, and I didn't have that time because I'm back at Bento Box, and I work stupidly insane hours at Bento Box.
How stupid are they?
Uh, uh, Part of the reason why I haven't been live streaming is because of how exhausted I've been, especially on deadline weekend or deadline weeks for Bento Box. Now, granted, I get paid for my overtime, but it's a lot of overtime.
Isn't that kind of, I don't even know where I was going with that. But
Typical in the animation industry, um, some studios, I think it's more typical in the EA, or not EA, that's just an example company, game industry. It's very typical in the gaming industry to work a shit ton of hours, especially when deadlines are calling. Um, the couple studios that I've worked at have been a little bit better managed, I
Hmm.
guess. So, with the exception of my starter job, where I was just coming out of school, and there were four of us who had to do an entire episode of the Wonder Pets, like a 9 minute episode in 2 weeks.
Oh, that
That
sounds fun.
that was crazy. That was like 60 hours, 70 hour work weeks. We work 7 days a week.
I've
So
worked 60-hour weeks. Those are about as fun as you'd think. So I can sympathize with you on that one.
I actually get asked fairly regularly for people who see my DA page and see that I work in the animation industry if they should go into animation, and I always say no. Not that I regret being there because I love it when I'm there, but it's very hard to get into. Firstly, it's a very unstable industry. Um, like I was laid off from Bento Box for 8 months this time around. Luckily, Floyd County picked me back up in January, but it's very unstable and it can be very demoralizing because it's such a skill based industry. I mean, people send resumes out all the time, and when you either don't hear from them or get told no, it's like over and over again. It's just like, well, am I good enough to be here? Like that thought just is always running through your mind. It's very hard.
Sounds like it. So why don't we kind of um, take a step back here? How did you get started as an animator? I am curious about that.
Well, I went to art school. Um, I started on the Wonder Pets.
Okay.
Strangely enough, like my senior year, a industry professional came in and critiqued all of our demo reels. And the guy that happened to come in and critique me happened to be the supervisor for Wonder Pets,
Hmm.
which started like 3 months after I graduated, something like that. And I sent my reel into them, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I remember your reel." Now, granted, my reel sucked coming out of school, so I'm not sure why I got hired, but I know that they needed people. So, um, it was like one of those we need people and they'll learn type of situations. And I honestly, I learned more my first year on the job working on Wonder Pets than I did my entire 4 years in school.
Isn't that how it always works?
Probably, although some schools are better than others. I went to College for Creative Studies in Detroit, and I'm not sure what they're like now, but at the time, it was a very mixed up program. They were trying to phase out 2D animation, which was not a very good idea, and they didn't quite have their 3D track in a good place. So I know that there's quite a few people that graduated in my class that have not made it into the industry because their education was so uneven.
Oof.
Yeah.
You
So,
gotta
but
if you're sorry.
it's a lot of work. If you're in art school and plan on going into animation, the best thing I can suggest to you is get an internship. It doesn't matter what it costs to do it. Get a freaking internship because that will get you into the industry. And it's something that my school did not push, but I wish that they had.
Noted. So I gotta ask then, what is the best part about being an animator? I mean, there has to be something that keeps you there.
Jeans and t-shirts all year round. I
Yes.
have purple and pink hair. I have piercings all up and down my ears and tattoos all up and down my left arm, and nobody cares.
So, in other words, your work speaks for itself.
It's a fun environment. Like once you get into like a legit, now there's different kinds of studios. I can't stress this enough. There's different kinds of animation studios. There's like commercial art, there's television, there's film, and there's gaming. I have only worked in commercial and television,
Hmm.
and commercial is not fun. The commercial portion of my animation career was not a happy place. I was not a happy person during that time. But once I like my starting studio with the Wonder Pets, and then my subsequent studios, I've worked at like Primal Screen and Floyd County Productions and Bento Box, have all been awesome. Just really good environments. People do things together. It's like a giant family.
That's nice.
It is. It's one of the perks. And I mean, I don't get to do a lot of drawing either at Bento Box or at Floyd County because of the way their processes work. And
Really?
at Bento Box, I'm actually a compositor, but I still it's still nice to get to be a part of art during the day. Like I come home and I just sit down and I draw, but it's nice to have that to do during the day as well.
What was the question I was going to ask here? Oh, the compositor. You said what's that?
I take well, I do a lot of effects work actually in Toon Boom
Hmm.
at Bento Box. I can't go too much into it because Bento Box has restrictions on how much they want said about the studio. But I can tell you, I put finished animation backgrounds together and make sure everything is consistent, like elements throughout the episode are consistent.
Hmm.
Um, and then I add special effects, lighting, lightning, um,
Sparkles.
sparkles. Yes, very very shinies. Fucking sparkles. Fucking sparkles and fucking bubbles. But I mean, I do get to do animation on the Awesomes, but it's all been effect animation. So, but
Okay.
yeah, it's and Archer like works a lot different. Like Archer, I can actually talk a little bit about like the way Archer works. They photograph people, and then they have illustrators who trace over the people in the Archer style,
Hmm.
and then they give us those elements along with like different arm sets, and then we animate everything. So it's like two very different processes.
But all for the same end.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Archer, or more specifically, the styling between that, say, then the Wonder Pets and other various projects that you've worked on. Between 2D and 3D animated series, which one's the more difficult one to work with, and why?
3D by far. I actually worked on Sesame Street. I was a 3D animator for a segment of Sesame Street called Cammy and Big Bird's Big Adventure,
Hmm.
or Big Adventures, or The Adventures of Cammy and Big Bird, something along those lines. But it's for Sesame Square, which airs in Nigeria. And I was a 3D animator for that show, and 3D animation is by far harder than 2D because you have to get it right in every angle.
Oh, that just
In
sounds
2
about as pleasant as can be.
in 2D, you have now. Granted, the production for that Sesame Street was very mismanaged.
Hmm.
Um, But I know in 2D, you from start to finish, you know exactly what your shots are going to look like. So if the character is in up close view, then you don't have to animate the whole character. You just animate like from the waist up or however far the camera is in. But for 3D, because sometimes you don't know how that camera is going to get moved, you have to animate everything all the time. So,
That just
and
oof.
it has to look right in every angle, which means getting the arcs right can be a real pain in the butt.
Like I said, that sounds about as that just sounds hard, difficult.
It was especially because I've mostly worked in 2D. Like I learned 3D animation in school,
Hmm.
but before that I had mostly worked in 2D. It was a little bit of a challenge, to be frank. Um, Now I pulled out some really nice animation with it, but it was a lot more difficult to do and a lot more time consuming for sure. Um, Especially when you never know when things could go wrong with like the rigs and stuff. Um, and a lot of things can be fudged a lot more, I think, in 2D. Um, like with squash and stretch and blur frames and stretch frames and there's things ways to get around having to animate everything absolutely perfectly. Now granted that's just my opinion, but that's how I'm very 2D oriented, I guess, at this point.
Fair enough.
Which is probably why I will never end up in film.
um, I want to talk more about, say, you mentioned Archer's style. Is that would we still classify that as 2D, or would we go to something else, like kind of a hybrid or some other kind of style?
Well, it's definitely 2D, but there's a couple different ways to animate in 2D. Archer and Wonder Pets are actually very similar in the way that they animate. They're done with photo puppetry,
Hmm.
basically. Well, that's what Wonder Pets was technically called, photo puppetry. Um, but it's all done in After Effects. Um,
Really?
yep, it's all animated in After Effects, and boy, howdy, do they have some amazing scripts in that program. But yeah, it's all like you move the elements, like you rotate them, you move the positions, but you don't necessarily like the AE animators don't actually draw anything. We're given sets of arms or gestures that we can use inside the bodies. Or actually, this past season they had a traditional animation team for Archer. I don't know how many people here watch Archer, but if there were sections of Archer this season where you could visibly tell there was a different style of animation being done, and it's all hand drawn.
Okay. Hmm.
So, but all of the rest of Archer is done with this puppet style animation where they give us assets and then we move everything.
I just I'm just picturing how it goes. Is all.
Hmm?
I'm just trying to picture how it all goes. You know, in terms of piecing it together and moving around and stuff.
Um, I don't. Have you worked in After Effects before?
No, I have not.
Do you know anything about parenting?
Mm-mm.
Basically, elements are connected to each other. So, say you have like a hand and you have like the lower arm and the upper arm, and each of those are connected together. So, the lower arm would be attached to the upper arm like it would be parented to the upper arm, and the hand would be parented to the lower arm in like a hierarchy, but
Mhm.
you would still be able to move on pivot points that like near the elbow and near the wrist.
Sure.
Does that
That.
make any sense?
Yep. I I'm somewhat familiar with the phrase parenting, but not in the context you were referring to.
But yeah, that's basically I Archer. I guess it really depends on the gesture. Sometimes they have the hands separated from the arms, but a lot of times, though, each arm is like its own drawing, and they draw a new gesture for every frame, like in between frame.
Whoa.
It's not that bad because it usually only ends up being 3 or 4 drawings unless it's a very complicated move.
Hmm.
But again, they have a traditional team now, and a lot of the fight scenes were traditionally animated this last season.
I just started watching it at the time of this recording. I'm only halfway through season one, but
Oh, the animation gets a lot better than in season one.
well, doesn't it always?
It does, but going back to season one for and like especially the people who worked on Archer is just painful because the animation is so bad in season one.
To me,
Like
that's
I love it. It's just a testament to how bad season one is animated. That scene where Archer is walking into ISIS, where his legs are just like back and forth, but there's no like up and down movement on his body. It's uh just shake my head and look the other way. But
I,
they've improved the process so much, and it's one of the things that I absolutely love about Floyd County is that they have found scripts and setups, and like they improve their rigs every season. Like every season there's been an update on the way that they run the pipeline.
I would
And
expect so.
it's really helped them quite a bit.
So tell me more about Archer, because in the sense of how did you get on it? Why are you still there, etc., etc.
Well, I work in Atlanta. um, I started when I got hired by Bento Box to work on season one of Out There.
Hmm.
And then I worked on the first season of The Awesomes. But after that first season of The Awesomes, we got put on hiatus. And I think that first hiatus from Bento Box was 6 months long, something like that, 5 or 6 months long. And it happened that Floyd really needed, that was the season we did Archer Vice. And that season, because of all of the new assets they needed to create for it, they were really behind on schedule. So they ended up hiring some of us from Bento Box to work temporarily to help them finish out their season. Because Bento Box and Floyd County are both located in Atlanta. So we're like, there's like Bento Box, Floyd County, Primal Screen, Cartoon Network. But Cartoon Network doesn't do TV here. They do that all out in Cali. But they have game stuff here. And there's like High Res, which is a game studio. And I'm trying to think if there's any other really big studios here. Not that I can think of off the top of my hand, but it's kind of a tight industry here.
It
So
sounds like it.
people kind of get passed along between studios when there's breaks.
Okay, but
But
then
that's how I ended up working. I also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that I know from, well, 4 from Wonder Pets and 1 from my Sesame Street gig that I work with over there. Sort of following each other around.
then I have to ask, what's how do I want to word this gingerly? You work on some children's animation, and then you work on something like Archer, which is clearly more adult oriented.
Yeah.
Don't you have any shame?
No. I have
I
no
love it.
shame. It's actually rather funny because when I went in this season, they had me sign a form saying that I wouldn't get offended by anything found in the search queries on the computers. Because she's like, don't be surprised if you find like dildos or something on people's screens. I'm like, why would I be offended by this? I know what I'm working on. And she's like, you have no idea the type of people we've got put in their resumes here. I'm like, what? And she's like, there have been people that like come in and saying, oh, we're going to pitch this children's show and it's going to be so great. And we're going to pitch this extremely religious program. It's like, no, we do not do that. We make Archer and Archer like programs. We are out to offend as many people as humanly possible.
We're out to offend. And
They're not actually out to offend everybody, but
equal opportunity.
it's Archer.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
If you're taking that too seriously, then you need a sense of humor.
As I like to call it, equal opportunity offenders.
Indeed. But yeah, I don't know. I like working on both. I think I prefer adult humor a little bit more because it's a little more my style, and children's programming tends to be a little bit more repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there's still opportunities to do some really cool things in both sets,
Sure.
honestly. So, and I like being able, like, I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I like being able to say that my child grew up watching something that I worked on. And it was kind of a joy to hear her say, Mommy worked on this show that everybody in my age group likes. You know,
So
it's
go ahead.
it's hard. It's warms the heart, I guess.
So I'm guessing Parents' Day at school is fun for you.
You know, I'm gonna sound like a very bad parent here, but I very rarely get to go to Lily's school. Now, her teacher did know that I was an animator and that I worked on Wonder Pets, and she was very excited for that. But I have barely gotten to go to any of Lily's. Ken, my husband, does a lot of the school stuff because his work schedule permits it a lot more than mine does.
Sure.
Because I generally don't even get out of work until 6:30 or 7, and if it's deadline week, then it's a lot later.
You'll be lucky if you see daylight again.
I am lucky to see my daughter 2 days a week on deadline weeks.
Oof. Oof.
Yeah, oof is right. It's pretty nuts. But we get an intern soon.
Woo!
That'll be fun.
So then I assume that they get all of the in between animations. You know, they're given the crappy jobs, right?
Yeah, probably. We'll have to start them out slow. Compositing can be sort of overwhelming sometimes because there's a lot to do to any given scene before it hits final editing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Still.
pretty
There was
nuts
a
as
sorry. I just couldn't. I had to say that because I read somewhere about that interns got those kind of jobs. They were the ones who didn't do the big scenes. They did all of the in between animations. Is that still true?
well, it depends because Bento runs a little different. Like both like compositors, it depends because the intern we're getting is doing compositing, so they wouldn't be getting tweens.
Hmm.
because we have a tweens department. But this person, I can't really divulge too much into it because it goes into how our process works, and I
Sure.
could get fired if I talk about it. But they would typically get either the easier stuff or the crap stuff that we don't want to work on.
I do want to ask then, in your animations, what you do, is there anything, and this goes for all the shows that you do. Not, I'll stick to the shows for now, but I'll get to the art a little bit later. In regards to the animations themselves, is there anything of your work that we should look for? Like, for instance, I've had one artist on here before say that he takes great pride in his backgrounds. What should we look for in the animated shows you work on? What should we look for?
Uh, well, at least like I guess it's different. For Bento Box, I'm really happy with how my actual effects have gotten over the last couple years. Like, I didn't actually get to do a whole lot of effects until I started working on the Awesomes.
Hmm.
But like my lightning and like just my effects in general have improved greatly over the last couple years. Like, I've gotten to do a ton of lightning and laser shots this season, um, which has been fun and entertaining to me. For Archer, I love facial animation, and I put a lot of work into my making sure emotions come out right in my scenes in Archer. So I do have a demo reel with some of the stuff I have up on Vimeo, which I can post later.
Okay, sure.
But yeah, I put a lot of effort into my facial animation on Archer, and I tend to get a lot of dialogue driven shots. So
All right, I want to shift a little bit. We don't have a lot of time left before we move to the audience questions, but before we get there, I do want to ask, so how does a classy sophisticate like you get involved in My Little Pony Friendship is Magic?
I blame my husband. When I was working on Sesame Street when I lived in Florida, he started watching it with Lily, our daughter, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, this is the best show ever! You have to sit and watch it." And I'm like, "No, I'm too busy." And he kept pestering me. So finally, I sat down and I watched it. I'm like, "Holy Nikes, this is the best thing ever!" And it happened to like coincide right when I ended up getting laid off at that studio.
Hmm.
So I started doing live streams. Like, my first big thing on my current DA account was like a comic about Snape and Lily.
Sure.
And then I started doing request streams for that. But then Ken ended up pulling some bronies into the or the live stream, and they started making pony requests, and that's when I started drawing ponies.
And I'm sure
It's
the
because he,
sorry.
huh?
I'm sure the non-bronies were very happy that your husband invited them in.
I did have a couple complaints when I started drawing ponies all the time, but it ended up keeping me afloat through that time off of work because I started taking commissions on deviant art, and most of my commissions came from pony people who wanted pony art. So it was a great help. So I've been in the fandom ever since. Now I'm not super die hard all the time, but you know, especially when work gets really busy, because then I'm exhausted all the time.
Right.
But I still try to put out a couple pony things whenever I can, and I try to update Ask Twice Ceratops. but I keep getting pulled onto other things.
Tell us more about that. I want you to go into a little detail on Ask Triceratops.
Oh my gosh, I don't remember how. I know it stemmed from a live stream conversation. I want to say it was a guy that goes by the name of Nixilis. And I don't remember if it was a request that he had or if it was something I was talking, like we were talking about like dinosaurs and ponies. And then like I made the comment about Triceratops and then it just blew up from there. And I made the comic and like I barely update it, but I want to be able to update it more. I've just with BronyCon approaching, it's like all my time has been spent into BronyCon. But originally, I was doing requests, or not like requests, but like ask type questions.
Mm-hmm.
But then it ended up turning into a comic. Like I decided that Twilight was going to go on an adventure and meet all her pony pals on an adventure. Um, and people seem to like that a lot more, so that's what I started going with. And every once in a while, like if I'm coming to like a plot point, like where they should go next, I'll ask people where they want to see her head, and I'll get responses and use one of them to be like the next set of like arcs, I guess, you know. But other than that, I honestly I don't remember exactly how it started. I know it was a live stream conversation.
All right, we have the audience room open right now, folks. The BwB text quest room is opened. So, Ms. Bunnimation, I will start getting to the audience questions. But before I do, you mentioned BronyCon and stuff you sell. I want to quickly run that over because I feel that's worth mentioning. Tell us more about your conventions that you've gone to, that you're going to, and if you especially want to hit on the upcoming BronyCon stuff that you'll be selling, feel free to put that in now.
I have done BronyCon last year, and I'll be doing it this year. And I did Everfree Northwest 2 years ago. I really, because work is so demanding, I really only have time to go to one con, maybe two a year if I end up working at one spot for more than a couple months. But this year I will be selling prints, posters, perler figures, keychains, cell straps, um, wooden music boxes. I've got hand woven bead bracelets that I'll be selling, all with like pony themed, like Cutie Mark and color uh, bead colors of the ponies.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think. Oh, buttons. I do pin buttons, and I have mini prints, a
Ooh,
couple mini prints. So I sell a whole variety of things.
sounds like it. What you mentioned those music boxes earlier in the show, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Let's get to the audience questions. um, okay, here's a good one. Twilight is Magic asks, as a person in both the animation industry and our fine fandom, I have a curious question. What is the prevalent stance in the industry in regards to fan content, such as fan art, fan music, and other fan related stuff? How does it vary between types of fan content and companies owning the franchises?
Oh, that's a tough question. I know typically like the animators love it. Like the people who actually work on the show, like the show, at least the shows that I've worked on, people love it. They totally get into seeing fan art of the shows. Um, I don't know how like corporate feels about it. I know Archer in particular is very like I don't think Floyd County cares as much, but like FX who owns Archer is like super strict about some of their like I think this year is the first year that Archer t-shirts were allowed to be sold on other sites.
Wow.
Yeah, like FX is super strict about it, but like I know that the animators totally get into seeing really good fan art. Now, that being said, I don't know how they feel about porny art, but you know, regular fan art, I know they're pretty stoked about. I don't know anything. Oh, wait, what?
Because there was a subreddit for the Archer reality.
I don't know anything about that. I just know about the Easter egg thing that went on this season, which was one of the like it's very Valve-ish in the way that our animators got involved with the fandom, the Archer fandom. Um, our graphics guy Mark Patterson started putting in Easter eggs into the show and had this huge like Easter egg hunt for the last season and a half. And I mean, it is like conspiracy theory deeply involved. How far down the rabbit hole do you want to go type stuff? And fans were just like ate it up. I could not believe that people spent the time to do the things that they actually figured out. I mean, I am blown away that he could think up how to do this stuff in the first place, but the fact that the fans saw it and picked up on it is just mind-blowing.
Half-Life 3 confirmed. Couldn't resist it.
But yeah, I don't know. I like I say, I know that like I'm gonna call them grunts because that's what we are. The animators and the people who actually work on the show love fan art, but I don't know how like the higher ups feel about it. To be honest, I've never heard them say bad things about it, but I know like corporate wise, it's not always seen well, and I'm not sure how that would work with Hasbro being a toy company and basically having rule over an animation company that probably gets a lot stickier than what we deal with because there's not as much merchandise and fan content, I guess, as the DHX shows.
So what you're saying is it becomes even stickier in Hasbro's case?
Yeah, it has to because um, Hasbro is a toy company, so a lot of their uh, a lot of their shows and stuff are geared towards making toys.
Mm-hmm.
From what I understand, the opening of My Little Pony, the current generation, that Twilight is riding in a hot air balloon, was to sell that toy.
Right.
It wasn't there as any sort of plot device or anything that I don't even think the hot air balloon shows up in an episode until what season 2 or season 3. Like
3, yep.
it wasn't there originally to do anything except for sell toys. So whenever, DHX gets an episode, they have to make sure that it's approved not only by the higher ups at DHX, but at Hasbro too.
I'm sorry. All I can imagine is just something like a very subtle "buy our toys" message going by as the balloon lowers down or something in the intro. Buy our toys. I'm sorry. You just put that in my head there.
Well, I think even the Cadence episode, for as awesome as those wedding episodes were, was an original ploy to make another princess to sell more toys.
Right.
So it gets again, a little stickier. Now I know Hasbro tends not to care that people make fan art as long as they're not selling crazy amounts of money, or like making, I should say, making crazy amounts of money
Hmm.
off of selling fan work. But um, I know I've seen cases throughout the fandom where people have reported some of, like, I know White Dove had an issue with it a few years ago. She had a cease and desist. So now I think, I don't even think she calls the ponies by their actual names on her DeviantArt page anymore. So
I think she does,
does
but I'm
she?
not
I know
sure.
for a while she wasn't, because of the cease and desist. She had to say, like, this purple pony with blue hair.
A feast and persist.
Yeah. Anyway, that's
Button.
what I know, at least.
I know she had to take her prices down, but but I don't think she. I've seen, at least as of late. I've been watching her for as long as I've been here. Anyway, that she does put the name of them down anyway. I know I saw a recent Apple Bloom that she put the actual name.
Okay.
So,
Well, maybe they've lifted it or something. But I know right after that, like, that whole thing happened, she wasn't using their names.
mhm,
But it's a sticky area for
it
sure.
is. That's very unfortunate. Button
Yeah.
Mash Night. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was agreeing.
Oh. Button Mash 1973 asks, "What do you think of Angel Bunny?"
When I first started drawing ponies, I, for one of the T-shirt contests on We Love Fine, I drew a picture of Fluttershy dressed up as a gangster with a Tommy gun with Angel in concrete shoes, and I still feel the same way.
Those concrete shoes, you think they'd go out of style, but they never do.
that sums up about how I feel about Angel Bunny.
Let's go to the Pia. Yeah. All right. Twilight is Magic asks, what can you say about FIM's Season 4 and Season five's animation from your professional standpoint? I think what he's asking is compare it to earlier seasons.
um there has been some really good animation, and I feel like the show, as it's gone on, has gotten a lot more squashy, stretchy, and less flash looking animation. Like, I feel overall the animation is definitely improved. Um, but there is still some inconsistency, I think. Um, like, you can tell where newer people have, or maybe people who weren't as good at animating or capturing the style of the show, have done some work.
Mm-hmm.
But I think overall it's definitely improved. There's some just amazing, like, especially every time Pinky is on screen. Like, they've really upped her, like, facial emotion. Like, I like them. Sometimes they're not exactly with the style of the show, but they capture me for whatever reason. Like, the entire cheese sandwich episode, she's making those, like, angry faces. They're brilliant. I love them, but they don't necessarily reflect the a lot of the other facial expressions in the show, and it's, like, nice to see them deviate a little bit from that. But there have been a few spots that could have used some more work, I think.
Any specific examples? Like, just name one to give us a reference.
I cannot think of one. Like it's very hard being an animator when you go to movies or watch shows because sometimes you're watching to enjoy it, but sometimes you're watching and you see things and you're like, God dang it, why is that like that? But they're mostly passing moments. You kind of get over them and enjoy it. If I could sit down and watch an episode, I could probably point some out, but there's not like a major one that stands out to me.
Okay.
It's just like little things that I see. Overall, the show is very, very well done. One thing I will say though, I'm not a huge fan of them adding soft light uh, to some of their like some of their episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Like they sometimes try to do like dramatic lighting and they use like a soft they've done it a few times this season. They use like soft lighting and I'm not a huge fan of it.
Okay.
But that's more comp and less animation.
Okay. I asked because being Mr. General Public here, I don't know that stuff. Neither does Tim. Let's
Yeah,
see.
you never want to get a group of animators to go see a movie because they'll just be chatting back and forth to each other about how the animation looks like Pixar and DreamWorks. I mean, and it's a lot of if there is a new animated film coming out, the animators are usually getting together to go see it. But you shouldn't do it because they'll talk through the film and tell each other about where things are really really good and where things are really really bad.
I can just imagine it. That was terrible. What were they thinking? Shh.
Yup.
It was that. Shh. Oh, I get it. It's her father. Damn it. Here comes the candy chuck. Let's see here. Okay, I'll ask this one. Mr. Ben asks, have there ever been any official shows that you've regretted working on? And there's multiple parts to this one. Any ones that you really, really wanted to work on but never had the chance or opportunity to?
I don't know that there's any that I've actually regretted working on. I know that there are shows that I've not been fans of. Um, but I would really like to work on being Puppy Cat or Steven Universe. I would love to work on My Little Pony if I ever got the chance to. But the one I'd really like to work on is being Puppy Cat. I absolutely love the style of that show. I love it.
What's the
it's
what's the show about? Is it
um it's about a girl who is lazy and um a little off and a space cat dog thing. It's all on YouTube.
okay?
It's a cartoon by Frederator Studios, but it was. Oh, I see your comment, Vest, and I will
He's been here the
dignify
whole time.
it. um, but yeah, I don't think there's any shows that I have really regret working on. I just know that I wasn't a huge fan of the first season of The Awesomes,
Hmm.
but it's gotten better over the last couple seasons. So
Let's see.
everybody should go watch Being Puppy Cat.
Okay.
It's free. It's on YouTube.
Ooh. Well, lots of things are on YouTube. Of course. No, I'm not going there. Mr. Ben asks, as an animator, do you actually get to pick and choose what projects you work on, or are they assigned to you?
um, they're assigned for sure. But it depends. I don't know. That's really hard for me to answer because I guess I did. work at Floyd County when Chosen was being made. Like, we've done a couple pilots
Hmm.
while we were working on other seasons of stuff at Bento Box, but Bento Box I don't think has had two big shows in at the same time. And Floyd County, when I worked with them the first time, had Chosen and Archer going at the same time. And when I first came in, I started working on Archer, but they got really swamped in comp on Chosen. So they threw me over to Chosen for about 3 weeks, and I was not a very happy camper to be doing that. But and I didn't really have a choice because they really needed me there. But I guess it's mostly a sign. Now, if you're talking about, sorry, um, like getting to work on other projects like outside the two studios I work at now, it's basically there's a number of things that can go right or wrong in any direction. I know anything that's being done out in Cali, they tend not to move people out there because they don't want to. They have so many people out there already looking for work that they don't feel that it's necessary unless you're like one of those special people that's just like amazing and everything you touch is gold. Um, Very little studios will actually move you out to Cali. They want you to already be there.
Please, won't you stay with us forever and ever and ever?
But as far as getting to choose what shows you work on, I think it's if you're looking to go like apply to a show or something like that, I think it's basically how many other people are looking to do the same thing you are. So it's not always your choice what show you get to work on.
Okay, let's see here. Oh, here's a good one. Twilight is Magic asks, how does the combination between official industry work and fan work feel and work for you?
It's very busy, especially when I'm gearing up to go to a con. Normally, like when I'm not preparing to do con stuff, I work my normal day job and then I come home and either take commissions. Like I do a lot of commission stuff over DeviantArt. Um, but when I'm not doing that, I run live streams where people can request sketches,
Hmm.
and I those are always really good times. My group has sort of dwindled over the years, especially having gone back to work. I tend to be a little more busy and a little more tired. Like even on Fridays, like I've been falling asleep at like 11 o'clock. That's how bad it is. Um, but like I really like doing the live streams. It's a good chance to like talk with people and hang out with people. And normally I run videos in the background, and I've given people the opportunity to see things they haven't seen before, and it's a lot of fun. But I like being a part of the pony fandom. I don't always make it super. I mean, people at work know that I'm a pony fan because I have a derpy
Aw.
bag.
Aw.
Um, and but I don't like.
Rub it in their
I'm
face.
not. I don't. That I know that there are some pony people out there that insist on telling people that it's the best show ever and they have to watch it, and if they don't like it, then you're stupid. But I tell people if they are looking for it, that Pony is a good show. Here's a good episode that you might like. If not, cool.
Exactly. All I can imagine is Now I'm not going to go there either. But anything else on that note?
Um, I don't think so. I
Okay.
I I do both. I try to balance it as best I can. Work sometimes gets hectic, so and work definitely takes precedence, but I do my best to continue to balance it.
I do have a question on your commissions, though. What are your prices? Are they, you know, ultra expensive or you
I think I'm actually probably one of the cheaper ones online. Um, I think my sketches are 15. And that's clean. That's not like that's like inked. I don't just do messy sketches. Those are for live stream.
know?
But clean sketches are like 15, and then if you want to like a solid color fill on it, that's like 20. Um, and that's for single character, pony or human. Um, all my pricings, I think the next bump up is like 25, and that's if you want colored line or like a real simple kind of background. I think the most it goes up to like it honestly depends on how detailed it is.
Hmm.
And anybody requesting steampunk stuff, especially if there's a background involved, is going to jump into the 50s or 60s pretty quickly. And most animation, because I've done a couple animation commissions before, start at about $60 or $70. But animation takes considerably more time
Yep.
than any like still drawing, like any illustration. But I think the most expensive illustration I've ever had was probably like $70 or $80, maybe.
Yeah, that's not very expensive, all things considered.
I know I've seen the prices of some of the other people, and I'm just like, wow, that is a lot of money. And I know it takes a long time to do these, but holy crap, that's a lot of money.
And Luna's getting larger. Seen that
Yup.
one? Seen the movie? Love them both. I just got to throw that out there. Love those scenes.
If you see any of the movie commissions that are like a crossover between either like commercials or TV or movie, that's Southwest Indiana Brony. He's the same person asking for all of the crazy crossover stuff. He did the Buck Dynasty one too.
Oh, good lord. I don't think I saw that one yet, but I'll have to look at that. uh, I'll get back to that one a little bit later, but I want to ask. I'm curious about this. Both Vest and Ice Sticker ask bananas.
Nope, not going there. What they're saying does not exist.
I won't ask.
That's probably for the best.
Noted. Vest, you
They're
dirty
making
man.
stuff up. That's all I can say.
Button Mash 1973 asks, which Orlando Nickelodeon studio did you work in?
What?
Uh, he asked, which Orlando Nickelodeon stage did you work in?
I have not worked for Nickelodeon.
That's, yeah. Anyway, um, Twilight is Magic asks, what do you find to be the most difficult thing to do in your work in animation? And similarly, the easiest.
The most difficult. Ooh. Hmm. Well, there's anything where one character is handing off something to another character, especially if it's an archer. It can be very technically difficult to do that sometimes. Um, in the awesomes, anything that has a lot of Z depth in it
Mhm.
Toon Boom has a Z depth capability, like for its cameras and stuff, and it can get very tricky on the way those scenes work out, especially if there's characters or objects layered in front of each other, and possibly even like if they're moving like forward in space or something and they walk in front of objects that they used to be behind, can get very difficult. Um, what's the easiest? Puddle shadows. It's mind numbing, but it's probably the easiest thing to do.
What is it that makes him so easy?
Well, they're just following the feet. They're just shadows that are on the ground under the characters.
Okay.
Um, so they just follow the feet. They're very easy.
Okay.
If it's an archer, then it's like a duplicated character with like a shadow type uh, module thrown on it. And if it's in Toon Boom, they're drawn with like hard edges on them, so they're like octagons and stuff just hanging out under the feet.
All right. Um, that terrible pun.
If it's best, that's
No, it's Tim.
best is like king of puns.
Vest, I do have a question from him though.
Okay.
When you're working on the Awesomes or Archer, do you or your coworkers sneak any pony references in?
I did. I totally did. And it got taken out.
Of course.
I totally did in season 1 of The Awesomes, and they pulled the entire scene. I was so upset. Aaron, my animation director, knew it was there, and he was so upset when they pulled it.
What can I ask what the scene was, and how did it play out?
It was actually, I think it was season 2, not season 1. They're defeating a bad guy named Compost, and they have him swirling around in like a big hurricane of garbage and stuff. And in the hurricane, I drew a little rainbow colored pony swirling around in the muck before he gets destroyed, and they took it out.
That's cute. I like that. My ponies.
Yeah, they can. It because we don't deal with revisions. Like we only deal with the first run of the program. We don't always get a say on what goes into the final product.
Sure.
So
That does bring up a question I want to ask in respect. I'm going to ask a follow up question to that. How
okay.
much of the creative process do you have control over, as opposed to say like the writers and the higher ups who approve it? How much of it would you say you have control of the show?
It depends on what show. I guess it's probably this goes into a very long and frustrating conversation that I cannot talk about because
Okay.
it's something that's sort of going down this season, but very little, especially in Archer. Archer is very specifically written. Adam Reed is the only writer on Archer, has been the only writer on Archer all seasons. Pretty much writes it by himself and is very adamant about the way certain things play out. And it's not a terrible thing because most of the time it's really funny the way he does it. Um, but I cannot talk about the bento stuff because the bento stuff is non-disclosure type information.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
very there's just been a lot going on with the bento stuff, and I honestly can't talk about it. I'm sorry.
that's fine. Like I said before, you can't. There are things you can't talk about. I respect that.
Yep. The Archer stuff, I mean, we can add gestures or facial expressions we find to be funny, even if they aren't storyboarded into the original set.
Hmm.
So that's kind of nice. But like, as far as actually getting to like write jokes in, that we don't get to do.
You win some, you lose some.
Yep. I know on other shows though, you are allowed to. I know since I don't work for this company, Cartoon Network
Hmm.
with like the regular show, they actually expect their storyboard artists to throw jokes in.
That,
Yep. Like they're given their script, but their board artists are expected to either add jokes or write jokes into the episode.
that's interesting. I mean, I'm just thinking. I'm sure a joke at some point would get thrown in on all sorts of shows from at various points in the production process. But I would think that most of it gets done either by the writer or maybe like the higher ups whom that writer converses with. So okay, that's interesting that they would put that much faith in the storyboard artists like that.
Yep. And I mean, people add their own little flares here and there
Derpy
on
would be a
any
pri
show that you work on. And I know when it goes to layout, um, like on Out There, we had like these side characters, like all these like stories going on where our layout artists put these characters together in certain shots. So there was like a behind the scenes kind of story going on. That was pretty entertaining, and she all did this, but um, yeah, it's certain ways with some companies and other ways with others. It really depends on how the pipeline works.
That's the way they want to run it. That's the way they will run it.
Yep.
Let's see here. Kind of already answered that one, so I'll skip that one. Ooh, Mr. Ben asks, have you ever tried considering going into? Let me back up here. Have you considered doing original work, like trying to present an original idea to a studio?
I actually have a television show that I have sort of been working on with Curran and Best for a, well, we haven't all been working on it together for many years, but I have been had the idea for a couple years, and Curran is doing the writing for it, and Best was is supposed to be helping us out with backgrounds whenever we all have time. But that's like a very small window. Yes, Sky Captain Lily. So I've got a TV show idea that I've been working on for a couple years, and I would like to pitch it someday soon, something like that. But we've got to get a pitch Bible
Sure.
together.
Keep us in the loop on that. I'd like to hear about it. When the time is right, of course. I'm assuming you're keeping this under tight wraps.
um, I don't know how tight a wraps we're keeping it under. I've worked on it in live stream before. Like I've worked on characters and stuff
Okay.
from the show on live stream before, and every once in a while we're we'll do like a group conference in live stream so that we can all sort of see what I'm doing and what needs to be done, or if they have comments like artistically, like this shouldn't be this way, then they can see it. But then other people show up and end up seeing it too. So I don't know how under wraps it is. Um, I
Ladies and
can
gentlemen, go ahead.
I can tell you it's a steampunk style show.
Ooh,
It's sort of it's set on an Earth like planet at least, and it's something has destroyed the surface of the planet, and they all live on floating continents above the planet now. And our
okay.
main character finds a pair of goggles, like it inherits a pair of goggles from her mother, who used to be a really famous sky captain, and crash lands. The main character crash lands her ship into a garage barge run by like the secondary character in the show, and she ends up finding lenses that fit into her goggles that have a map, like part of a map on them.
Ooh,
And the whole rest of the show is like where the map goes to and what the finding the rest of the pieces to it.
you have my interest.
Yay!
I know I'm just one person, but hey, that, that's one more fan. Kind of.
I had some art up for a while for it on DA, but I think I took most of it down because of some art theft issues I had.
Hmm.
So, and I didn't want anybody to take those characters because they're something I've been developing for several years now. So,
Because people won't catch on to the fact that they're stolen or anything like that.
it can be very frustrating
I,
sometimes because if they get anywhere to a site that's overseas, then
hmm.
there's almost nothing you can do about it because they just don't care.
Yep. Unfortunately. Anyway, um, let's see.
Oh, somebody's seen the test run of that's like really old, the test run of Lily on my Vimeo. Like one of my first working character designs of her. She's aged up quite a bit since that.
Kind of on that same vein with this story, how do you feel about Eastern animation versus Western animation, particularly anime on the Eastern front?
I love both. I know a lot of people in the animation industry love anime, and I know a lot of people in the industry who hate it. And a lot of people refer to anime as a genre, but I disagree with that wholeheartedly because there are so many. It's not a genre; it's a style. And when I get people who say that I hate anime, you don't hate anime. You dislike the style. You don't. You dislike the style of one or two things, and you may have disliked the story of something that you saw. But there is so many different genres of anime, and I try to impress this upon people who are naysayers, but sometimes, people are obstinate.
Magical girl, Mac, slice of life. Need I go on?
Oh, I there's good and bad of both.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
I have actually during my 4 years at in university have gotten a much better appreciation of Western animation, like Pixar and stuff. I guess Sailor Moon is probably what got me into animation. So I was more on the animation or on the anime side of animation when I entered school, but I have kind of it's not that I've fallen out with anime because I still watch anime, But I am way more stoked about Pixar and um, DreamWorks and Illumination, Illumination Studios, Blue Sky. You know, when I
Yeah.
see that they're bringing things out, I get way more stoked about those things. One of the things that's sort of been hard with having a career in animation is you can see where they are cutting corners all the time. Like especially like in anime, especially where they are not animating. And you know, that being said, like I love Sailor Moon. Like I am an avid collector of Sailor Moon stuff. I have a collection, and I know it's not the best animated cartoon. Like the original was not the best animated cartoon, um, but it's campy in that
Yes,
way
it
that
is.
makes it great. But the new series got released starting last year, and I could not have been more disappointed with what they did with it. Like they have to have a tremendous budget for this show, and it looked like shit.
Oof.
Pardon my language, but there was no facial animation. Someone actually took all of the different faces from the show from the first episode and put them next to each other, and they're like all the same face with slight
Oh,
variations. It was awful. Now, granted, it's gotten a little better as the season has gone on, but
that being said,
when you've been a fan for something, like I've watched Sailor Moon probably since I was like 12 and I'm 32. So I've been a fan of the show for a long time. And to see them do that, I know what I wanted. Like, and they're doing a good job with the story, but what they're doing with the animation is
a big slap in the
travesty.
face.
It is. You know they've got the budget, and you know what you want to see, and they're not giving it to you. It's incredibly frustrating.
Oh, absolutely. I've I can't think of anything right off bat, but I know the idea of something going on a hiatus and then coming back and then slapping you in the face because of how terrible it is. It's like I waited all this time for this,
Yep,
and you feel let down.
yep. But that being said, I like both facets. Both facets of animation, but I tend to get a little more worked up about Western animation currently, probably because I'm involved with it.
Let's see here. All right. What is the official crime world rank of Gangster Shy?
uh,
Twilight is Magic asks.
well, okay, I actually have two versions of that because when I was drawing that original T-shirt contest design, somebody told me that because Hasbro has to approve all the designs
Mm-hmm.
that go up on We Love Fine, that might be too violent. So I did a version where Angel Bunny is actually Fluttershy's boss and is in like pinstripe suit and everything. Um, I like the original version better because I don't like Angel Bunny very much. But if we're going with the second version, then she'd be secondhand until she went Hulk on him.
Yes, yes. Although I still find Discord slapping Angel around far better. That was funny.
Yeah, it was very satisfying
there was a
after all of those years.
well, finally someone does it though. I love it. There was a comic that showed a couple of scenes from the episode of Keep Calm and Flutter On after it aired of Discord slapping Angel around, And the reaction was this guy staring at the computer, and the next panel he goes, "I'm okay with this."
Oh,
Let's see here. Twilight is Magic asks a more serious question this time. Do you have any in-industry tales to share about working on feature-length animations as opposed to episodic or series format animations?
I have no experience in film, to be honest. And it's it's something I sort of aimed for a while. Like I was thinking, one day I might take a venture into film. But I've sort of come to the realization over probably the last 2 years, since being at Bento Box at least, I really like the workflow of television. It's
Okay.
fast. It's not simple, but I mean it's challenging. But um, I know at Pixar, at least the last time I heard, they were required to do 3 seconds of animation a week. 3 seconds.
Yeah,
That is like nothing. I don't know that I would, but it's got to be like the best damn 3 seconds you've ever freaking seen.
that's just it, though.
And I don't know that I've got the attention span to concentrate on one shot for that long, would drive me crazy.
And if you ever saw the finished result, you'd be going, I hate that scene. I hate that scene. I hate that scene.
I still do that sometimes. Like, why does this look like such crap? What did I do? What was I thinking? Why didn't I do it this way? But television moves a lot faster. I know on Archer, I probably did between 40 seconds and a minute and a half in about 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
So the time frame for the amount of animation, like the amount of time you have for the amount of animation you need to get done is a lot less. Like there's a lot less time to do a lot more animation.
Right. Let's see. God. Ice Sticker asks,
Oh
have you
no.
considered making a series of flower mecha ponies?
Ice already knows the answer to this, but freaking no. He happens to know that I just like drawing mech because I'm not very good at it, and while I can draw flowers, they're detailed and annoying. And he on a regular basis asks if I will be drawing any flowery mechs this week, and I give him the same answer every time. Hell no.
I'm sensing a pattern here between you and Toxic Mario and myself with Ice. I'm detecting a pattern here.
Oh, I like Ice, but he knows how to get a rise out of me. I see what you did there.
Oh. If Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be making a guest appearance here, I'm going to have to get some more water for that. Jeez. Allow me to break the ice. Anyway, let's. Oh, good lord. All right. We kind of already answered this question, but there's a little more to it. Twilight is Magic asks, how much time normally goes into an episode? in particular in your particular current job?
Um, I'm trying to think. A couple months at least
That
from
sounds about right.
start to finish. I know other places spend like an entire year from start to finish on an episode. Wonder Pets is done in, or was, I don't think the show is running anymore. I think 9 months
Hmm.
from start to finish because each episode had its own orchestra track. So depending, you're talking about your dialogue, or well, writing it, your dialogue, like having actual voice actors do it, writing a musical track for it, having an animatic and storyboards done, um, animation, compositing, editing. It's a while, from start to finish.
Yep.
Um, I only see like the probably backgrounds, animation, illustration, compositing portion of that. But I know that it stems much farther than what I physically see. So probably a couple months at least per episode.
All right. Yeah, that sounds about right. Anywhere between about 9 months to a year is what I hear typically. So, okay. Um, kind of approaching the end here, so I'm getting a little bit pickier with my questions. Okay, here's we're kind of. I'll ask it. Mr. Ben asks, how many times has the top brass come down in order to change something that, in your opinion, was either insubstantial or otherwise a really stupid move?
Every day. Every day. Shush. We don't talk about Perfect Man's Rainbow anymore.
I'm not going to ask about that.
in season 1 of the awesome, or yeah, season 1, he had a rainbow trail because he's Perfect Man. We added that in. I think it was actually my suggestion to have Perfect Man's trail be a rainbow, like his like flight trail, like the blur lines behind
Hmm.
him. But LA wouldn't let us do it, and
Darn.
forever bummed. I cry every day about it. But it happens all the time, seriously. And not just at Bento. At every job you will have in the industry, there are the nitpicks because they go through so many facets of um, approval.
Hmm.
Because there's always someone above whoever made the last comment who needs to see it before it hits television. So there's a lot of very nitpicky things, and it happens all the time.
Let's see here. How about kind of a curious one here, but I'll ask it nonetheless. Twilight is Magic asks, how do companies owning the franchises go about controlling them in general?
They get a say in how the show, or they get a say in revisions, I should say. Anytime that show gets put on television, the top brass has seen it before it goes to air, and they make notes. As per the last question, nitpicky notes.
Mr. Ben asks, have you ever been relocated or forced to move because of your job?
Yes, twice now.
Really?
I started out in Michigan, graduated from College for Creative Studies, but then found a job working on Wonder Pets in Southfield, so I didn't have to move that time. But then when I started working for Animatic Media for Sesame Street, they wanted me to move to Florida. Thankfully, they helped a little bit, but it was a huge move, especially coming from the frozen tundra of Michigan and going to southern Florida.
Hot and
Um,
humid.
Hot and humid. It was pretty crazy because the day we left Michigan, it was 30 degrees out and starting to snow. And when we got to Florida, it was 70 degrees and everyone was in sweaters and coats. And we're like running around in tank tops and shorts and like, whoa, the sun! And everybody else is like, and you know, we asked our landlady, like, why is everybody wearing coats and sweaters and long pants? It's so nice. She's like, this is really cold for Florida. I'm like, are you kidding me? We found out a year later why that is. Like your body just adjusts to the hot weather. So what used to be freaking tropical at 70 degrees is now freezing. Um, but now I live in Atlanta because I started work at Bento Box in 2012, and they needed everybody to be in the studio because they couldn't send the files outside the studio. So we moved up to Atlanta, and Atlanta has been a much better move because there's a lot more work in this area because there's a few more studios.
Sure.
Florida's kind of a death trap because nobody wants to move you out of Florida because you're not next to anybody in Florida. And there's not much there anymore, especially with Disney gone. I mean, they've got Disney Studios, but the studio itself is all gone.
Hmm. Okay.
Stereo D was there for a while, but they stopped paying their employees and went bankrupt.
Yeah. All right, we have approached the end, but I do want to ask one more question. It's kind of a combination of three people asking the same question, but
Okay,
I want to, I do want to ask this.
sure.
Let's see here.
Unless
Make
it's
that
the
four.
okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was to say unless it's the banana thing again, then
No, it's
no.
not. It's a serious question. I'm just trying to get all of the names lined up. Vest, Dark 92 Enigma, Button Mesh 1973, and J.E. Smith ask kind of the same question. Vest wants specifically what scenes from Archer or The Awesomes are you most particularly proud of? Dark 92 and J.E. Smith ask, in general, what is the most impressive piece of animation you have ever seen? And Button Mash ask what MLP episode had the best animation.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. Um, my favorite Archer scene that I've done, there was a scene this season. Like, I really like the one that I did last season where Pam and Cyril are talking about the Krieger clones, and she's referring to them as vampires, and she says it doesn't matter to the stake. I animated that sequence. There's like a series of shots in that, and I am pretty proud of that one because Cyril has some really good facial animation on it. This season, I did a whole bunch of clips of um, in the Archer Voyager, like the where they get shrunk down. It's like the last two episodes of the season, where Dr. Sklodowska is yelling at people into the mic as they're trying to get towards the tear duct. Like it was broken up very peculiarly because they wanted people to be animating the same set of people, and um, there was some pretty good animation in that where she's like yelling at the screen and stuff. So there's another one that I did too, and I like even wrote it down so I could get it for my demo reel. And I can't even think what it is, but I'd have to watch the episodes to remember what it was. But it some of the scenes that I've done were actually done like I do like the base the first round of animation, but depending on how busy I am, when revisions come up, sometimes other animators will take over and fix quote unquote fix the animation.
Hmm.
So sometimes the scene is not always just me. Um,
Still, you
but
had your.
those two come to mind. What was the second question?
How about let's branch off to the other show? What was your favorite? What MLP episode had the best animation?
Oh, I don't know. To be honest, I know that there's a couple like scenes and stuff that were really good, but I can tell you one place where I didn't like the animation in MLP,
Hmm.
and that's the the brothers, the
Flim Flam
Flim
Brothers.
Flam brothers, where the ponies are bending their legs like they've got knees. Bothered the heck out of me. I don't know. Anytime there's like Pinkie Pie is moving, like squash and stretch, or like leaves a dust trail behind her, like anytime she moves off the screen like that, it's always like really good animation. Um, yeah, I can't think of any like really specific. I can tell you one from the first Equestria Girls movie.
Hmm.
Um, they do the lunchroom song, and the first chorus, the first run of the chorus, when they go up and then down and they spin all around, like that animation is like some of the best pony animation that has been done to date. It's beautiful.
And
It's
yet those were
very well done.
and
And
those
then
were
like
done
the
to
rest of the
humans.
show is just like what what the heck? Like that show is so in that movie is so inconsistent in its animation. Makes me crazy because there's like such good pieces of it. Uh, I don't know.
Eh. And then overall, what was the most spectacular piece of animation that you have ever seen, whether piece or entirety?
That is really hard. I am very particular to Song of the Sea, which is a newer film. Came out this March.
Hmm.
Absolutely stunning. The movie as a whole is just like a beautiful piece of work in every aspect. Like the like art direction and the animation, it is gorgeous. There's like some shorts that I've seen that are really really good. Pixar, I actually like their shorts sometimes better than their movies. Disney too, both of them. I really liked Paperman, like that short. Like I cried at that the first time I saw it because it was so beautiful. um, but yeah, the movie as a whole, Song of the Sea is beautiful.
Okay.
And having done a pony crossover of it, I have no idea how they made the entire movie like that. Because that one poster took me like over a week to do.
All right. Anything else before we wrap this up, Ms. Bunnimation?
Luna's the best princess.
How about your? I do have one more for you. How about any future plans? What are some things you have planned that you have maybe not shared with us yet?
I I don't know. I wear my life like an open book pretty much. Um, when I'm done with BronyCon, I would like to go back to working on my television show. Um, but other than that, I'm doing BronyCon. I work for Bento Box until September, and then I go back to Floyd County to work on the next season of Archer.
Nice.
So I'm at least guaranteed work for another year, so that'll be nice.
Sure.
Yeah, I've been making my attempts in casting jewelry with much failure.
Well,
If anybody knows how to melt sterling silver without using a kiln, please hit me up. Um, but other than that, not much. Yeah,
all
we'll
right.
see where the winds take us.
Then why don't we close this out? All right. As I said, folks, next week we will not be broadcasting BwB due to various schedule problems. Join us hopefully on the 14th as we continue on. Probably be doing a comic discussion again. Until then, I want to thank you very much, Ms. Bunnimation, for stopping on by.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Hey,
This is
nope.
the first time I've ever done this. This is exciting.
The fun's all on this side of the table, believe me. Until then, folks, take care.
Have a good one.